The Case of the Missing Leave It to Beaver by Ace Crime Scribe Kirby Grindstone. Episode number 5, entitled Don't Come Home, Bill Bailey, or Sonny and Cher, All Is Forgiven. The story so far. After the miserable failure of the much vaunted scientific method as taught by the famous detective schools of Kalamazoo, Michigan, US of A, Artie Rambo, detective, hypnotist and poodle clipper while you wait, has decided to call on the expertise of his comrade in arms in matters criminal, Professor Julius Spandau Ballet, star of the long-running and popular TV show Science Quiz. Rambo decided to leave the distraught poodle's owner, June Lockhart, hunched over a short black at the Two Wogs and a Wacker pizza parlour, guarded by his pet emu Albert the Big, who was standing on the Franco Cozzo-inspired jukebox in mad cappuccino-crazed abandon, doing unusually boring impressions of Jimmy Cagney, George Raft, Hunters and Collectors, Frank Sinatra and Mick Jagger, to the absolute indifference of the patrons. With a shout of "Hi-ho Silver, shiver me timbers, all systems go, T-minus 30 seconds and counting, kick out the jams, Bobcat Bop, Spondooly ankle grime with a diddle-daddle doodle-dillin', the master detective and feared adversary of criminals and dentists everywhere rushed out the door and jumped into his car. After a couple of minutes of frantically searching for his car keys, he realised, apart from the fact that he couldn't drive, he didn't even own a car. Hoping no one had witnessed his un-James Bond-like behaviour, Artie shamefacedly made his way through the lunchtime crowds to the bus stop, where the number 48 would carry him to the TV studios, where he hoped he would locate the good Professor S. Ballet. As he approached the gates of Channel Rot 7, he was struck by a sudden thought. Picking himself up from the gutter, he dashed behind a conveniently located billboard, where he changed into a purple crimpling jumpsuit, afro wig, gold pendant with a dollar bill motif, and mirrored sunglasses that he just happened to have with him. In this preposterous game show host get-up, he ambled past the station security guards, clicking his fingers and squawking the occasional "beautiful" and "ciao, baby." Coming to a door marked Studio C, he decided to do just that, and swaggered in as if he'd just finished a guest spot on Thank Your Lucky Bars, the quiz show for alcoholics. As it so happened, they were taping an episode of The Pregnant and the Insane, Artie Rambo's favourite soap opera. Artie was transfixed, for right before his eyes, not 40 feet away, was the woman that Artie was passionately in love with, the voluptuous and sensual Joy Division. Now, Artie had a whole room in his house devoted to the career and exploits of this paragon amongst thespians. The as-above beauty and brains combined in one perfectly neat package, Ms. Joy Division. From her first recognition in the public eye, her controversial portrayal of Spittin' Lily in the punk rock opera Rhapsody in Glue, the series of well-loved commercials she did for Utah Mining as the lady geologist, nuclear physicist, housewife and flying doctor, from her portrayal of a female country and western singer in the Tally movie Ms. Malone, to her current success as a suburban librarian who moonlights as a striptease artiste to earn extra money so she can pay for a nose job for an old English sheepdog, Certain Horatio. Artie was desperately trying to figure out how he could meet the sumptuous Joy Division and impress her with his suave, debonair manner. There must be a correct approach, he mused, a subtle hint of been there, done that, flying down the highway in an open Aston Martin, eating a can of cold baked beans and sipping the finest champagne. But time for romantic pursuits later. Meanwhile, back at the Two Wogs and a Wacker pizza parlour, Albert the Big had thankfully abandoned his less than fascinating impressions and was now, with the help of June Lockhart, performing a violently Gallic Apache dance. June Lockhart revealed herself to be a surprisingly good terpsichorean as she moved into a vigorous twist routine a la Chubby Checker at the height of his Peppermint Lounge fame. Rambo decided that it was time now to really seek out the illustrious Professor Julius Spandau Ballet. Up and down corridors he went, down lanes, past the TV personalities he followed, till he turned a corner and walked straight into the car park, where at the far end stood a dilapidated shack with the sign, Production HQ, Science Quiz. He knocked on the door of the shack a couple of times, No answer. He entered. The professor was lying sprawled on the floor. Bunsen burners, eggs in bottles, and other scientific experiments were scattered in a most disorderly manner. There was a note written in the trembling, dog-like hand, stuck on just below the light switch. It read, "Get off this case, Rambo, or you won't be home for dinner or breakfast. Know what I mean? The poodle is safe, happy, and learning to play guitar. Signed, Big Black Poodle, hard rockin', hard lovin', hard drinkin', hard hardened dud, or was that dude?" Will Artie Rambo stay on the case? Will kangaroos, wombats, emus and other Australian fauna ever be eligible to join the armed forces? Is there any truth to the rumour that riding bicycles is illegal in the Soviet Union? Can June Lockhart break the world non-stop twist record? Find out these hard-hitting issues and other gut feelings in the next transmogrifying episode of The Case of the Missing Liberty Beaver.
Welcome to the Necrophilia News Network. If it happened, we caused it. Bulletin. Today marks the first anniversary of the Fast Forward Empire, a megalopolis octopus whose cassette tentacles have entrenched themselves in every known corner of the entrenched world. If your life hasn't been touched by them, it soon will be. As Exxon vowed before the global Fast Forward corporate assault, Fast Forward installations circling the globe, masterminded from an offshore island.
No, that's the baby Rhea.
Are being placed on red alert for what is believed to be a desperate last-ditch effort by the flag people to crush the Pandora's box of planetary consciousness released by Fast Forward subversives. The clock ticks. The world waits. Only time will tell.
Now stand by for some music.
Right, I remember Ian Hunter saying, "Who wants to write about Watford?" And I thought, I do. Like that. It seemed more sense than writing about Memphis. Always seemed more sense. And to be a person, it's not to be nationalistic, it's to be characterful, to be where you come from. And, a person like me is, I suppose, more of an actor than a singer, and I write my own scripts, and I couldn't write outside my experience to save my life, because it wouldn't be convincing to me, let alone to anyone else. And I'm personally bored to death with the sound of the word Memphis. I just can't stand it, unless it's Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Chuck Berry's version. Oh, all kinds of undercurrents are set up by extreme success, which, in fact, I don't think anybody needs. I don't give a damn if I never get in the charts again, quite honestly. If I'm writing songs that are going to sustain us through our concerts, Spasticus, to me, is a song that is going to live in our act for the rest of my days. And that kind of song is more important to a career than whether it was a massive, commercial success or not. Commerce is a thing that I need enough of to survive, but not enough of to destroy the spirit. And being hungry and being slightly looking upwards all the time is much better than looking downwards at your expensive shoes with your chunky gold bracelet around your crocodile skin neck. Nobody, in all the 10 years I've been doing rock and roll music, has ever actually been nasty to me. Nobody. Nobody's ever had a go at me. Nobody's ever told me I should stop, even though I felt that I ought to myself sometimes. And nobody's ever told me that it was all a kind of a wasted exercise, so that when you get a kind of a group, well, it's anti-anthropology, it's anti-history, it's anti-experience, it's anti-human nature, rock and roll, because it's a group of people who are all, by necessity and definition, are ego trippers, kind of sharing their egos and pooling their resources. I did 3 LP sleeves when I was a graphic designer. One was Frank Sinatra, one was Instruments of the Orchestra, and the other one was Vera Lynn. Do you remember good old Vera? Yeah, I got £23 for each one. It took me 2 weeks. I had to get all her wrinkles off. No, I'm not World Record Club. Didn't pay too well and didn't credit either. And I had to get Vera's wrinkles off, and I'd fixed it. We fixed it. The old pencil. They said, too many wrinkles, I'm afraid. rubbing it off. It was a press photograph with a flash, you know, when it all hangs out. Gels time. Gels in the garden moored. I could hear my gels flapping up the stairs behind me, said Paul McCartney, as he got older, for some reason. People think I'm boxing clever all the time, really. A lot of people don't trust me because they think I'm brainy in it, and I ain't really brainy. I'm just, I'm a person who's had lots of different experiences just through life without ever engineering it particularly, and I can sort of call on those experiences if, in a given situation, one can, for instance, I can adopt the guise of a London hard nut with a verbal, which I've learned from London hard nuts, which I'm not, but just the attitude of a London hard nut, or another time I can pretend that if it's necessary I'm going to go back to hospital for 3 years. I'm not worried about it, you know. There's a story about, it's got nothing to do with what I'm saying, about Matisse, that he bought a Cézanne for about 20 quid. I think before Cézanne died, in like about 1905 or something, in Paris. And it was at a time when Matisse was very broke, and he had that painting, and he used to get up in the morning, come downstairs before he went to work, have his bit of breakfast, and look at the Cézanne. It was apparently one of the mountain paintings, just a pure landscape, no figures in it. Cézanne wasn't a great figure painter, he was a great earth painter. And he looked at it for an hour every morning. Matisse would look at his picture and get so high off it that he'd go and work for 15 hours. It was skint for another 10 years after Cézanne had died and become a hot property. And an American dealer offered him $1 million for it. And he said, leave it out, mate, I need that more than I need $1 million. And he kept it and left it to somewhere nice, some little funny little gallery in France. And hearing that story is enough to make me want to kind of know that I can turn the money away, turn the fame away, turn even the understanding from the audience away, if necessary, in order to just follow it may not even be the truth. It's just what I think being selfish is not being selfish if it's not getting you anything. It's being what you've got to be. And I hate being famous sometimes. I mean, a lot of the time, I think everybody probably does. I hate being regarded as better than I think I am, because I don't really even want to feel that good. I don't want to feel superior to anybody, or inferior. It's a horrible feeling inferior, which I think we all feel quite a lot of the time. I just want to feel equal. And making my bit of jobs, I don't really want to be no more important than like the bloke who makes the chairs or the bloke who delivers the milk, really. Just useful, and if it's useful to other people, like in a way that I think David Bowie's probably more important in my mind as a person who's probably inspired hundreds of other people to do likewise, or whatever their version of likewise, rather than as a great artist or something. I just think he can tap people's, like, he can encourage people because he's not so far removed from them that they don't identify with it fully and want to do it. And that's where really people like David Bowie are important. And perhaps I'm a bit, as a lyric writer, maybe I'm too flash, or maybe I make people think they're not very good at it, and which is not good, you know. It's like, I don't want to be Muhammad Ali, however much I like him. I want to wind other people up. I think that's probably more important. Art is really perhaps a very political thing. Any kind of art, any kind of joyful life, any kind of life that can bring your own self a pleasurable existence is the most politically important thing really that exists, because that's really, the revolution begins in the living room. It's not a written down manifesto, it's about your own individual existence. It's not about anything else. If it is, then you either think you're God or you think you're a germ, you know. There's no two ways about it. And I don't want to be that. I don't think anybody else wants to be that. Well, art is political, really, because it's going to be more important every 20 minutes for the rest of our lives and the rest of the world's life. It's going to be the thing that everyone's going to need one day for themselves. Art, being a great artist, is as unimportant as a box of matches. Being an artist is as politically important as... If the whole world was artists, there wouldn't be no shooters, and everyone would be getting off on it. Everybody can do it. We're all born equal. The only thing that's different is opportunity and experience. And art for the unemployed will be employment for the employable. And we can all do our art, man. We can all do it. Everyone can do it. Any prat can learn to draw. Because I learned by just trying them quite hard, admittedly, and being motivated, luckily. which, you know, is not there for everyone. Motivation itself, the will to do it, isn't always invested in our kind of childhood. But I've been writing a song called The Brutal Hiawatha for the last 4 years, and the words are naked, swearing, blind aggression. Learn that first when just a baby. Teach that fucking noisy baby. Hit that kid. Bash! Hit it again for good measure. Bash, bash! Like that, which is what happens, you know.
Hello.
We're JFK and the Cuban Crisis.
From Brisbane.
Before I met JFK, my life was in a real mess. A friend told me about their cassette, and I tried one, and things suddenly looked a little brighter.
Thousand bunches chained in a concrete jungle, they never each other in the perfect ground. The rapid is slow, but it does not matter when it gets to reach your top as fast as she can. She's a novelty girl, the kind of girl you think you've seen before, but never met. She'll bring magic to the cave and then she'll civilize. Others born is others girl, living in an other's world. Others born is others girl. Maybe they could have other babies, yeah. The juicy dives and a plunging neckline sitting on the balcony in overdrive. She sits on coke, reading last month's Clio, and when it reaches just she wants to live 9 to 5. But she's a miracle girl, kind of girl you think should stay at home, but never does. She's a morsel of the diet of a carnivore. Others born is others girl, living in an other's world. Others born is others girl. Maybe they could have others babies, yeah. They're a different breed, highly foreign race. They haven't much in common with the likes of me and you. But almost the aliens coming from another world. At that moment when suddenly out of the blue, Office boy meets office girl, living in an office world. Office boy meets office girl. Maybe they could have office babies, yeah. Office boy meets office girl, living in an office world. Office boy meets office girl. Maybe they could have office babies, yeah. stuck on you.
What was the original idea behind starting up Kraftwerk then as more of a defined group?
Chloe and myself, we were just conceptually that we wanted a place where we could actually work, because Germany there's no music industry or no fabrication like you can rely on, or that is existing, or taking people picking people up, you know, an exploitation system that takes people from the streets, fabricates them into other situations, and then marketing channels, productivity. And we had this idea of, since we didn't have that anyway, and we're not politically, we don't like it on the other way, so we would be our own factory, our own industrial productivity. And then we started renting some space in Düsseldorf Center and some workshops, and we're still actually in the same place, only now we have taken over other parts of the building. So it's quite magnetic, and we started there producing and making our own sound tapes with cassette recorders or simplistic. I had a 2-track Wavox machine, and then we made all the sounds. And since we didn't have enough money in to mix it down in the studio with mixing boards. We met Connie and he helped us out. So we actually worked together, but he had no part in producing the music.
Can you explain the concept of industrial country music or industrial box music?
Yeah, it is at least what we're trying to do, living in this industrial zone, Ruhrgebiet, which is like where the Rhine and the Ruhr crosses. Is the biggest industrial zone in Europe, and it's like stretches out over 100 kilometers and it's like 20 million people. So when we were touring all the time, we went from Düsseldorf to Dortmund, Essen, all the cities and factories and just since we were into noise anyway, so we kind of like industrial production, and we had this vision of our music being like the voice of this industrial and Germany also has no popular music. When we started, it didn't have no popular music because we have no living culture, you know. Now people in their homes, a big amateur scene where everybody's fiddling with their electronic equipment, communicating with electronics, and there's thousands of people, especially young people. They send cassettes to each other. They make their own little hobby kits or synthesizers, and so I think I'm not saying we made them do it, but it's kind of we are part of this scene. It's a big amateur scene. We would line ourselves in there as being amateurs, because really we are very amateuristic in the sense of the word that we love. We do what we do because we love what we work. And so today there's quite a number of kids starting directly with electronics, whereas we would have started historically with piano and...
Right, well because you've got the amateur.
Yeah, it's really like in Germany and now in England over the last 2 years they have been very slow because they hang so much into the 60s and with guitars and so rock. Since they have a popular culture already, they made one up in the probably with the Beatles generation. Before that, they didn't have it either.
Yeah,
because they were like Americanized.
When you say Germany has no popular culture or traditional culture, which might be misinterpreting what you said.
Yeah, I'm saying Germany had a living culture in the 20s. Then, like we all know, politically, it turned, to say the least, historical.
Yeah.
The country turned historical, political. So all these new people had to go. Yeah. They went to America, they went to France, wherever, you know, Bertolt Brecht or Kurt Weill. From the musical side, from the film side, they went to America. And then still some people were left, but they were like, with the war and everything, that was bombed out also. So after the war, everything was replaced with, turned into American culture. Coca-Cola and whatever, whiskey. So we were in a way lucky since we lived in the British sector, because their system was not that overpowering. Like you can note that it has taken the Frankfurt region, where it's the longest. When you travel to Germany, you can see that's the most Americanized part. So where we live is still very very low key. The British have been fairly low key. These two streams of culture that we had, the modernistic and the more, let's say, pathetic, historical, Teutonic, both streams were wiped out, like one before the Nazis and one with the war. So when we started or knew that there was maybe more to life than a house and a Mercedes-Benz for the husband and a Volkswagen for the housewife, we started, we shocked. It was like a shock treatment. And a couple of years later we found out, oh, that's very good, because since we have nothing, we can make something. So it's a very good chance, and I think similar at the same time period, late 60s, early 70s, a lot of people have felt that in other areas like filmmaking. We have worked with Rainer Fassbinder and two of his films, with some of our music, other filmmakers, literature. So like now today, in the 80s or late 70s, you have a German culture going, and it's a very good chance because you don't need to push away older people or father figures that dominate. We have no father figures, so we might as well get ourselves something going.
Devise that new
yeah, it's very open. It's this old fascination with science, I think, in Germany that we share because we are like a mix between music and science. Germany is not really big on the entertaining side of the world. They're not very entertaining. They're more
serious.
Yeah, well, yeah, in a way, it's not. That's more Mediterranean in Europe.
Kraftwerk has been a major force in making disco and electronic popular music respectable. And disco is an entertainment-oriented music style.
Yeah, but also it's a lifestyle for us. Same, living there in Germany. We would never go out and listen to a band like you do, like in America. They all go to a club and listen to a band, which is boring. Why spend 2 hours listening to one band when you can spend 2 hours listening to 100 records? So we always had records and loudspeakers, and we like this environment. I spend most of my youth meeting friends, and there would be an occasional concert once every month or 2 months. Maybe today more over the years, but mostly we'd be going out to discos. So it was our environment, technical environment, and that's where we had this thing, especially since electronic music had this taboo of electronic music is serious only, which we found ours reducing because it's perfect, and we like to dance ourselves, so why shouldn't our music be, it didn't seem realistic for us. So we made Trans Europe Express, and in America even black people, they liked the rhythms, and it's like I think one of the few white music that gets played on black radio.
You would design your music to be played in discos?
Yeah, sometimes. Because we like pulses and heartbeats and, like I said, body functions. Very,
it's like biomechanics.
Yeah, minimalistic music. Simple, and we do that ourselves also. There's different aspects where we made some film or music, but especially we found also maybe it has to do with the other German electronic bands. They are into this droning meditation only, and also the so-called avant-garde electronic music, what we feel kind of like dissociated from. We'd rather leave and go to a discotheque.
And yet that's very
just drag one of these serious electronics composers into a club and onto the dance floor, and he'd be lost. Yes, but it's my body. What shall I do? It's my body. But music was maybe the most reactionary form. It took music, maybe it was the last art form to adopt the 20th century, and I think it had to do with the hardware, with the electronic instruments from the 40s, the tape recorder.
1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
secret weapon, a tribute to the work of our onboard genetic engineers. The fast-forward cassette creature, to all appearances like all other cassettes, but secretly duplicating itself within its life support pack-sack, impregnating the blank cassettes of the world with its secret sounds.
A strange animal has escaped. A strange animal? Like something you've never seen before? Like something no one has ever seen before.
It broke out of its cage and grabbed me by the arm.
Oh, hello, almost a doctor. This creature, tell me about it. Well, first it was this high, then this high. Now it is tall, nearly as tall as a man. Is that the normal rate of growth? No, not as far as I know. The only data we have is in Dr. Sharman's notes. Where's the animal now? It fled into the woods. Let's go. No, please, wait. Tell me, what is that creature? Where does it come from? I must know. We'll go with you, huh? I'm sorry, Professor, I can't now. Thanks for your help.